Trust. Dependency. Love. Respect. Passion. Pain. Intimacy. Pleasure. I sit here stuck inside my head, remembering you and I analyze all those things you said. You told me you loved me, you kissed and you hugged me, then you smile, look in my eyes, and tell me that you'll always be right there. No, you let me down. Whoa. Trust. Dependency. Love. Respect. Passion. Pain. Intimacy. Pleasure. I sit here stuck inside my head, remembering you and I analyze all those things you said. You told me you loved me, you kissed and you hugged me, then you smile, look in my eyes, and tell me that you'll always be right there. No, you let me down. Whoa.
Good evening, good peoples. Hey, y'all. Hey, up, you on mute? You muted? Unmuted? Unmuted? There we go. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Good evening, good people, and we want to welcome you all to another episode of PGC After Dark with the Crazy Rich Aunties. We in this thing tonight with our special guest, Uncle Michae Allen, Miami Curve photographer, in this thing with us. And tonight, we are discussing the inside of the adult entertainment industry. We're gonna get it in. We're gonna talk about some of the inside scoop of the industry, and we're gonna get to the nitty-gritty. First of all, we're gonna have Michae introduce himself to the peoples and run down that resume because it is an extensive one. So go ahead and run it down for the peoples.
Hey, how y'all doing? So my name is Michae Allen of A Sharp Photo. I am the one and only plus size certified photographer in the universe. My primary niche, I pretty much like to work with curvy women, and I like to create boudoir. Like I do some stuff with body paint, and I'm learning how to do some stuff with like tape and things like that. And my whole thing is, as much as I like portrait work, I really like to try to create art and have people kind of fall in love with the human body, and specifically Black and brown bodies.
I love it.
Listen, the Black and brown bodies need all the exposure, okay?
Absolutely.
Because they are amazing, they are beautiful, and not enough people know how to capture the true essence of a beautiful plus size Black and brown woman. So kudos to you for doing that and perfecting your craft. Because it's not one, like I said, it's not one that everybody can do, and it's not one that is deemed very easy. It's not even easy to be able to pose as a plus size woman. So I can just imagine from the other side. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about the adult entertainment industry from a photographer's perspective and from what you've been able to see over your time frame as a photographer, but not just a photographer, but one that is learning the adult industry and trying to tap into that industry. So go ahead and give us the scoop.
Okay, so I know, like for me, all right, I don't know if anybody watches Seinfeld, right?
Yes.
Or watched it.
There's
There's this episode where George is he meets some woman, he has a relationship, and then he doesn't have it anymore, and he has this picture, and he's able to get into a club, and then when he loses a picture, he can't get in anymore. And I find, like, with the adult industry, and rightfully so, like, it's hard for them to trust people, so it's like I have connections with people personally, but getting into it widely is difficult. You know what I mean? Unless it's like once they know you, you're in. You know what I mean? But until they know you, because I mean, even outside of the adult industry, there's a lot of guys with cameras, like GWCs. You ever heard that term?
Yes. And there are plenty that I have seen before that take the worst possible pictures. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, and I think you and I actually started having this conversation. We was like, nope, we're gonna wait for the show. We're gonna wait for the show to actually have the conversation. Because there are guys that portray themselves as photographers, but they are really just dudes with cameras that know how to take pictures. And even that is giving them more credit than they are due, because a lot of them don't even know how to really take great pictures or capture a plus size body. A lot of them use that as a way to manipulate women into taking pictures, whether it's provocative or, with less clothing and things like that. And so it does stain photographers to me.
Well, there's no barrier to entry, right? Like if you want to be a dentist, you got to go to this school, you got to have this certification. You can't even open the dental practice without these things, But
Right.
if you're a photographer, if you got $5,000, you can have everything you need. You know what I mean? And then say, hey, I'm a photographer, without the skill. And yeah, a lot of guys just do it just so they can get next to pretty girls. And you can normally tell by looking at their portfolio and what it looks like and what they capture. And now at the same time, now it's GWCs who take great pictures. They're just, I wouldn't call them a GWC, they're just creeps. You know what I mean?
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's what kind of, they have to be careful, because it's very sensitive. It's like, I'm already doing this. I'm out here. I don't need nobody trying to take advantage of me. You know what I mean? Or using my stuff in a way that I don't want, even, it's hard. People complain about it, but like the clip sites, like your Pornhub or Xhamster or whatever, they take stuff that people are supposed to be paying for and just put it on that site, and that's hard for those performers sometimes, because it's like, okay, my stuff is on Pornhub, but I'm not getting paid for it, and some people, what I will say is kind of good is Pornhub has gotten to the point where if you're a performer and you create a profile on there and say, yo, that over there is mine, Pornhub will say, cool, we'll file that under your stuff, and then we'll make sure you get whatever credit you're supposed to get for it. So there are things in place for it, but it's difficult. And it's no different than any other, intellectual property.
Right.
You got to protect it, because people will steal it and try to use it to enrich themselves,
The other thing that I've noticed as well is, like we were talking about the guys with cameras, and that's one of the other things that they do as well. They don't necessarily gauge how to put out the content that they're putting out. They just take pictures in unflattering ways. And the biggest thing for me is that I've been trying to understand is that when they take these pictures of these women in these unflattering ways, what triggers another woman to look at these pictures and say, oh yeah, I want him to take my pictures too? Is it because they just take pictures of plus size women? Or is it because you really think that he's going to be able to capture you in a way that he didn't capture somebody else? I don't know, but it's definitely been it's been a lot of questions in my mind about how some of these creeps with cameras get so many people to take pictures of them. I mean, get all these clients to take pictures of them, when a lot of the work that I've seen just in general was not good at all, like in no shape, form, or fashion.
Well, two things, right? So art is something that requires you to educate yourself, and that's all art, music, whatever. So with the lack of education, I can put poor art in front of you and you'll accept it, because you have no knowledge of it. So you're like, well, I guess it's good, right? You say it is. Okay. And it's probably better than anything that you could create. So sure, it's great. And then the other part of that is some people who aren't great at art are good at business or psychology.
Yeah.
So if you're good at business or psychology, you can get clients. Doesn't mean you can give them quality work, but you can't get people in the door and you can't get them to pay you. That's the issue with being an artist sometimes. Sometimes you're a great artist, but you're a horrible business person.
Yeah.
So you make amazing things, you can't get nobody to pay you for it.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. And it's I understand it being a business and things like that, and they may be a really good salesperson. And art is subjective, like you said. Art is very subjective depending on who's looking at it. But
no, it's some stuff that's bad. It's not that it's subjective. It's not that it's
some of that shit is just really terrible. Like
it's that some people are uneducated, so they don't know it's bad art. So as far as they know, that's the subjective part. It's good to them, even though it's bad, because they don't know no better.
Yeah, because man, some of these pictures, I am like, what is happening? That is usually my first response when I see pictures. It's usually like, what is happening here?
They pictures. That's what they is. They're not photographs. They're not art. They pictures.
Yeah, it's
PITCHAS. Pictures.
Pictures.
Oh, picture. Okay.
Because to me, and that's the difference. Like you said, I have been trained that I have taken a lot of time, even with being a stylist and all that kind of stuff, to know what it looks like, or what, even before I became a stylist or really got into things, like my eye for detail has always been there. And so looking at a lot of these pictures, it's like, what is happening? Some of them have like, it's the weirdest thing. Some of them have dirty feet, like.
So they're not cleaning the feet before they
dirty feet.
Like, it is a lot of things going on in these pictures that be like, wait, what is happening? The feet be dirty. The background isn't clear.
Yeah.
I saw one, and I have to send you this person's name. I'm not gonna say their name on here, but a lot of their work has plus size women, like, in lingerie or in shorts or in fitted clothing, and it's never flattering. Like, they have on shorts and like the short be up one butt cheek and hanging off the other, and it's like, bruh, where was somebody to tell you to pull these shorts or these drawers up out of this woman's butt? Wow. Like, where was somebody? And why didn't you think to do that as a photographer? Because at some point, after you've taken pictures for so long, there are certain things that you should start to look for.
Right.
There are certain things that you should start to perfect. I don't care if you are just a creep with a camera. At some point, you've been doing this long enough that you should start looking for certain things, I would think. Let me just say that.
But if that's not what you're doing, if you're not trying to be a photographer, and I'll say even as someone who's trying to do their best, like, my focus is on light and shape, and I forget the style aspect. So here's the second part of that. If you mess up and you take bad pictures, all of them ain't bad. You don't post the bad ones.
Yeah.
So that's your, like, I might shoot 300 frames. You might only see 80, and that's 80 is a lot. You normally not gonna take all 80 of those, and you're gonna be like, wow, like, yeah, they didn't see the 220 bad ones,
right?
They saw the 80 phenomenal ones. So that's another, like, judgment thing where it's like, dude, you never put bad work out there, because you're gonna create some bad work just on accident. You moved, something was blurry, they moved. You don't put that out there.
Well, maybe that was the best they had.
Well, yeah.
And if that's the best you had out of 300, and you still, it's
Mm,
like, did you really do a good job? So to kind of take that from just being regular photos and regular
yeah.
photography to taking that into the boudoir shoots and
Right.
into the adult entertainment industry, what is the which ways do you do your photography different in order to make sure that you're enhancing and giving the best possible photos to the person that you're doing in the boudoir shoot?
All right. So a couple things, like there's a lot of education up front. We like I try to make sure we get on the phone. So you hear my voice and I hear your voice, and you're like, okay, this is a real person. He doesn't sound crazy. He's not saying anything crazy. Okay. You know what I mean? Then you're gonna get a lot of emails of what to do, before the shoot, this type of thing, what's going to happen during the shoot, what's going to happen afterwards. So it's like, we're working. Like I'm not just showing up and then you not just being naked and there we go. Like I'm giving you instructions. We might have a mood board where it's like, hey, this is kind of the direction that we want to go in terms of look. I forget to do it, but sometimes I try to tell people, okay, have something going on in your head. So create a character and be in character for this part of the look. You know what I mean? So you get
Mm-hmm.
more than just you're looking at the camera, but there's something going on in your brain. So you're doing something, and that's felt when people see the image. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and just thinking of kind of like the whole mood and styling the whole thing as opposed to just take your clothes off. You know what I mean? And let's take some
Yeah.
pictures.
And that's what I was gonna say too, ladies and gentlemen. If somebody out here taking pictures of you, sexy pictures of you, and they not giving you instruction or y'all haven't had like a real conversation, don't go.
Right.
Because
Mhm.
that's a setup for something totally different that you might end up at, and you might be like, this is not what I signed up for. So always take into account, like, showing up for shoots and stuff like that, especially if you got to get naked. Make sure this person is certified, because who's to
Yeah.
say that after you take those pictures that you're gonna receive them or anything like that? Those pictures could end up somewhere that they shouldn't be, all because you didn't vet the person that was taking your pictures. So make sure you do that.
And even with adult work, there's a specific release that has to be filed. I think it's called a 2257 or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
so that because where that needs to go, the people in the, adult production need to know that that person knows that their stuff is specifically for adult entertainment. So it's
Mm.
one thing to do boudoir. It's another thing to be like, hey, you do know that the whole world is going to see this. You know what I mean? So it
Right.
needs to be clear. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
The
like, so
disclaimer.
them signing that release puts it in their head, hey, I am doing adult work. I'm not just taking boudoir pictures that might end up somewhere. This is specific.
Mm-hmm. So with like kind of stepping into the industry a little bit more, as a photographer, what is it um that intrigues you about the industry, first of all? But then what is it that you feel like as a photographer you bring to the industry?
All right. So I think for me, like two things. Like one, I feel like the adult industry is the last bastion of open racism, right? And yeah, like it's the last place where you can do things like we don't think about it, but when you have a scene where there's a small white girl and six black guys around her, with 13-inch penises, they're making a statement. You know what I mean? That there's a
Mm-hmm.
statement. They're sending a statement that this is what black men do, you know what I mean, to this innocent little white girl.
Mm.
And they're selling a product that people don't really realize. It's that it's not just the sex they're selling. They're selling that racist trope of black men wanting white women. So it's like I would excuse me, I would love to kind of adjust what we think about sexuality in the black community. You know, I mean, it's nice to adjust what other people think about us, but there's a part of me that doesn't care. I want to adjust what we think about each other. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And then as a Christian, and this is where like I'm like, okay, how do I draw these lines? I really feel like the church does a horrible job of addressing sex, which from a Christian standpoint, that's God's idea, right? So if it's God's idea, why would we avoid it and run from it and hide from it? You know what I mean? It's like, how can we explicitly talk about this thing that we all want to do? If it's supposed to be done right, well, let's talk about it. You know, I feel like the way that most churches handle sex is there's a car in a garage. You know about this car your whole life. Don't go out there. Don't look at the car. Don't talk about cars, nothing. When you turn 16 and you get your driver's license, your parents take you out there and say, hey, I need you to drive me to California. That is how you like what? Sex and like the whole wedding night. You're not allowed to think about it, talk about it, nothing. But then you're supposed to perform on this important day. We doing that wrong. You know what I mean? So it's like, as far as I just really want to kind of impact one, blacks and sexuality and how we see each other and how we see each other in those spaces. And then two, how we address those things in religious spaces.
Now that there is something totally different, because trying to address, like thinking about how some of our parents didn't even want to address the topic, you know. Our parents didn't want to address it, church didn't want to address it, but then it's so many of us that were out here playing around and trying to figure it out.
Right. We ain't gonna talk about it, but don't get it wrong. Don't get it wrong.
Right.
But I ain't gonna tell you what right is.
No baby. Don't come with no babies. Don't get no diseases. Don't do none of that. But we ain't not gonna talk about it.
But we're not gonna talk about it, and we're not gonna show you what's what, and we're not gonna explain it, because if we explain it, then you're gonna be intrigued and gonna want to do it. So therefore, we're not gonna talk about it.
That's what
we're not
say,
gonna have this conversation.
They're not explaining it because half of them can't.
They can't. They don't know how to.
Thoughts on it. Actually, they want to do it. They want to enjoy it, but there's no actual psychological, you know, or intellectual framework around what sex is, you know.
I mean, and then on top of that, let's be honest, they most likely have their fantasies and indulgences too. So this is part of the reason why they move away from it, because when they think about sex, they may be thinking about it in another context. They're not thinking about it in like man and woman. They thinking about, okay, I see Sister Maybelline over there with her booty hanging out, and I want to get on her. You know what I mean? And so it's like that's the only name that popped up in my head right now. But they looking at another.
Why is it hanging out? Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, you know. I mean, like maybe it's just sticking out because of the dress. You know, dress a little flattering, so the booty like doing what it's doing, is waving, and they sitting over there having a moment.
Waving.
It's waving, booty waving.
Yeah. I think that's the other part too. Like, church talks about sex in a way that makes you feel as though that it's not something natural, and it's something that you should never, like, you shouldn't even be doing it.
Right.
And then not only that, but then when you do have these desires or these thoughts or things like that, people make you feel bad for having those thoughts and desires, or even trying to explain your thoughts and desires, or what you were feeling or what you were thinking. And parents alike have that problem or have that issue with being able to differentiate to a teenager that this is something that happens to your body, and you have these thoughts, and you have, you know, all of this going on. So they get out here exploring, and still nobody explains. Like, I don't understand. Like, a child can't even say, I don't understand why my body is doing these things.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what's your body out here? What you out here doing, feeling? And it's like,
right.
I didn't choose to feel this way. Okay.
Or shaming them for exploring themselves.
That too.
Right.
Because they're trying to figure out, why does this feel like that when I touch it, or whatever. And why is this? And no one's having those conversations with their children. They just like, well, it's bad. Don't do it. Don't touch it.
Just don't touch it.
Just don't do it. And then now when they just out here all willy-nilly. And I mean, I have those conversations often when I do my parties. And the main thing I ask all the time is, like, probably one of the first things I ask is, what is it that we've learned about sex? What have you learned about? What have your parents, teachers, whomever you've had a conversation with when you was younger told you about it? And the main thing is don't have it. Do not have it before marriage. Don't go giving it away to every little boy, or just don't bring no babies home. As far as boys are concerned, don't you bring no babies home. Do whatever you want to do out here. Don't bring no babies home. Or they just buy them condoms and tell them to go about their business. Most men learn sex from porn, and most women learn sex from their friends and the men that they have sex with.
Yep.
See,
and everybody around here confused.
And my thing is, like, I won't even tell you not to tell your kids not to do it. Tell them why. If you don't tell them why, then and especially, look, my son, he's 7. He needs to know why. You know, and in the Black community, right? You're not supposed to ask why. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? As adults, we need a rationale for things. They should too. And then also, just like with just porn and adult entertainment in general. Okay, you said it best, Auntie Ayla. If they learn about sex through porn, shouldn't we have better porn?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Step by step tutorials.
Black and Wild 9 ain't teaching me what I need to be knowing.
Hey, round and
If
round,
that's the only thing I'm up here watching, or if that's the only thing I've seen,
right?
Or I've only seen the DVDs that my uncle keep in his sock drawer.
Boy. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If that's the only thing I've seen or experienced or witnessed as a young person, then when I actually get to a certain age or of age where I decide to participate in sex, then I'm going based off of Black and Wild 9.
Yeah.
And so
and you're interacting in a space where you've seen you saw what the girl said and what she did, so you're doing that same thing, and you probably sitting over here in pure torture. It good. It's hurting. You just don't know, but you just sitting over there just okay, this what she did, so I'm gonna do this.
It's supposed to be right. That's what you assume. I think I've told my kids, you know, we talked about that, and we talked about like, okay, you guys have been in a car with mommy and daddy, you know, while we drive, you know what I mean? But you've also seen video games where they drive on the video games. That's kind of like what porn is. Porn is Mario Kart. You can't drive the way you drive in Mario Kart on the road. Somebody will get hurt. You know what I mean?
Boy.
So it's like
that's the best.
Yeah, it's important for them
I gotta quote that. I'm gonna have to post that quote.
Please post it so I can share it.
So it's not about staying, and this is if you do it right. It's not about staying away from it. It's understanding that this is false. You know what I mean? It's knowing that when you watch a film that those aren't real aliens. I'm just enjoying a production. You know what I mean? But then to go outside and look for those specific aliens. I don't know if you believe in aliens. I'm saying the ones you've seen on TV, them ain't the ones you're gonna see outside.
Right.
Nope.
Exactly.
And then even with that, like even with the misconception that like what I see on here is what I can go out here and do in the world, that happens across the board where like I believe Ayla was just saying like that they get out here trying to practice, and you see somebody like doing like this on a, and then you think that's what somebody else is going to enjoy. First of all, no, because I'm gonna fight you.
Right.
And those are the kind of things that if we had more real conversations about those things, then we would stop over exaggerating what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Or what it's supposed to feel like, or what it's supposed to look like, because we are basing that idea off of a production.
Right. Like a lot of the sex you see is for camera angles.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with actual pleasure. You know what I mean? Like I read this book recently called She Comes First.
Yes. Oh my God, she does.
Okay, you know. And wait, are you saying because you read the book, or you just agree with the quote?
I've read the book.
Okay.
A combination both.
Right. And I think what's so important with that book for me is the beginning is this is the map. This is where everything is. you got to think how many men actually don't know where things are. Okay, funny story, right? At church, I'm probably putting people out there. I don't think they're watching this. So we were talking, just a bunch of the guys, and we were talking about doing something for like couples, like a marriage type thing, right? And I said, hey, listen, I saw this thing once where this woman had this kind of plush doll of a vulva, and she was pointing out where everything was. And I said, that would make sense. If we're going to break apart and do men over here and women over there, I said, that would be great to do. Them dudes laughed at me. And I'm like, but if this is information on specifically how to please your wife, why would you not want that? Why would you try to figure something out that she could tell you or you could be shown? You know what I mean? And that's what most men do. They're like, well,
ego.
This is what I want to do.
Yeah, it's an ego thing.
Yes, crazy.
It's an ego thing. And something that I've also found. So I've done couples parties at couples ministries for people in different churches and stuff like that. They never have it at the church, but they always have it. They do like a couples night, and
which I think they should. But anyway, continue.
Yes. So I have a standing group of people at this particular church, and they call me like at least once a year. But then outside of them, I've done other ones, but I always find that there's the couple there that's really rambunctious. It's the one that, the older couple that's really rambunctious. They always touch on each other. You got the newlyweds, and then you have everybody in between. And typically a good portion do not know, especially, and even the women don't know how big the clitoris is, how many nerve endings are in the clitoris, the difference between the clit and the urethra. Like they don't know these things. And I'm like, now, mind you, I had to think about it. Like my education, we had like a sex ed class, right? But that sex ed class did not teach us that.
Don't catch nothing. That's what sex ed was.
I was just going to say.
Sex ed was basically the DARE program for sex.
Right. Scared straight.
That's all it was. It wasn't anything like, well, this is the vulva, this is what makes it up, this is the sensations, and da 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 da. None of that. And I'm I'm learning this stuff in the age of 28, 30 years old, the first time I ever even attempted to have an orgasm, it scared the shit out of me. So I bagged out. I said, I don't know what this is. And I didn't like it because I never felt it before. But then something said, okay, keep going. So the second time that it did happen, it's probably like the third or fourth time that I did feel it. I said, okay, I'm going to go for whatever this is. And I've been looking for it ever since.
But like you said, that's like the DARE program for sex, like it really is, because the only thing that they tell you in sex ed is about your cycle for girls. Like I remember they used to split us up, the boys and the girls.
Yeah.
And for the girls, the only thing that they used to tell us was about our cycles and the things that happen as you're growing up. But they don't break it down. They don't give you information. They don't tell you these things. And it's because the people that are teaching it don't even understand how to teach you, because they don't know and because they weren't taught. So they're going to give you the bare minimum, and they're going to give you the basic of what you think or what you should know, just enough to get you by, so that you're not out here fully ignorant of what your body is and what it does. They give you enough information for you to know that you do more than just pee out of it. Like, and that's what it looks like, And like you were saying earlier, Michae, is that since that's where most kids learn it, and that's where most go watching and sneak in and all that, then we do need to have better visuals created for those kind of purposes. Not just simply because, because better quality and better understanding makes for better, interaction, but also because most of our kids, that's how they're going to learn it. Because the parents are not sitting down having these conversations. And so therefore they are going to sneak and watch. And that's just because curiosity overall. You know what I'm saying? Curiosity is gonna make you do it anyway. I'm gonna go look because I feel like that's how I learned.
Yeah.
You know, I had older brothers, I had uncles, all of that. So I was sneaking books. I was stealing their little books.
Right, but then you had to unlearn, right? You know, because you learned,
you have to
bad
unlearn.
information.
Yeah, I was stealing the books that they were saying, you know, that they were that they used to have. I would go steal their books and read the adult books and learn all of that kind of stuff because I'm like, I want to know. And I was that kid. I was, you know, curious, but I wasn't just gonna go watch nothing. I was gonna go read something. And you know, that kind of stuff. As I got older, I was like, oh, this is all bullshit. And so that was the biggest thing. Like, you know, as you grow and get older, you realize like a lot of the stuff that we were taught or that we saw was utter and complete BS.
Yeah.
So,
and I think I'm gonna take a small dark turn, and it's a small dark turn. I'm gonna come back. So I think also the thing that happens is if you're not explaining these things to your children, when these things are happening to them as a child, like touched inappropriately, they would know this is an inappropriate touch. But they don't understand if uncle, auntie, or whoever is saying, oh yeah, this is just me and you time because you're my favorite or whatever, that they wouldn't know that, okay, this until they get older and they start learning. Then as they get older and they start realizing, okay, this is something that shouldn't have happened. Now you have this trauma that kicks in from something that they probably thought was like it was innocent or it wasn't okay until they learned that it wasn't okay. And if you're having those conversations, you said these are the places that no one should be touching you. And if you want to explore yourself, that's different because I think that I don't know who I was having this conversation with, but they were like, if my child wants to explore themselves, I will tell them what each is or what that does because they need to know these things. They can't know from their toes to their knee and all the way up what these things are and what they do. But then I don't tell them about their genital area. Just don't touch that area, like it's so forbidden.
Right.
And
because that teaches something, you know, later on in life. Even if you never say sex is bad, it's like, well, this whole area is bad. So
yep, because it's an unspoken forbidden. Like it's forbidden because it's unspoken. Like we don't talk about it, so therefore don't do nothing down there, don't do nothing with it.
And then they don't do anything but make you want to figure it out more.
Yeah, you go to the bathroom, you wipe it, you clean it, but that's it. You know, that's about as far as it would go.
It makes you want to do something more with it, or it makes you have issues, and then you have intimacy issues later. Because you might be the good kid. You might be the good kid that says, you know what, they told me not to touch it, I'm not gonna touch it. You get married, you know what I mean, and your spouse says, I want to touch it. You're like, well, I've spent my whole life not dealing with this, so I don't know how to do this now. You know,
now you're over here confused.
Yep.
And trying to ask your girlfriends, what should I do? Should I do this? And should I do?
And overall, for the men who never had the option to explore, like honestly, for me, I feel like if you don't self-pleasure, I feel like that's an issue.
It's weird. Well, you know, and I think
it's a weird, not an issue. Let me just say it's weird to me. Let me just put it that way. It's a weird thing.
The issue with men is there's this, so it's problematic because it's like my worth is built on my ability to get a woman, right? So if I pleasure myself, then I'm less of a man because I'm not out there conquering and you know, and capturing and all that type of stuff. That's a problem. Like that's not a woman's purpose to be captured by you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think it's just I don't even like saying weird, but I think it's weird to me simply because you end up having a partner who doesn't even want you to do that. Like now it's an issue because I don't do it, you shouldn't do it.
You shouldn't do it either.
Or you know, it creates a bunch of different scenarios in a relationship that could be eliminated or not necessarily eliminate it, but that does give it a off-putting situation within your relationship or marriage, because you don't do it, I can't do it, or you don't do it, so when I do it, it makes you feel like you are less than because I do it. So or even for women that don't do it, I think that's an issue as well, because we had the conversation that, and I think we were talking about that on here, Ayla, that when damn, I lost my train of thought. Oh, we were talking about how women, when they don't explore themselves, it creates an issue for us not being able to know what that big O feels like. Or when we get to that, what all of those things, or we're expecting somebody else to know how to pleasure us, and we don't even know how to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So that was the other, that's the other part of that's the other side of the coin.
How you gonna tell somebody how to drive somewhere if you ain't drove there yourself?
If you don't know how to drive,
Yeah.
You can't tell me how to drive this car, and you've never driven this car. So, and then it goes into the other part where we are never satisfied in that area of our life, and we're wondering why. Well, you got to get out here and explore a little bit,
You can tell him what to do,
You can tell him what to do. I'm doing a thing right now in my group that I have on Facebook, and I'm telling people about intimacy and self-love, because ultimately, you're right. We're not we're not teaching something because we don't know it half the time. It's a good portion of women who don't know what they like, how they want to be touched, what they need. A lot of times it's visual aids, like, okay, I'm reading 50 Shades. Ooh, that sounds good. I want to do that. Or I'm watching whatever movie I could think of. I can't even think off the top of my head, but watching a movie, you're like, oh, I want somebody to, it looks like it feels so good and so sensual and so amazing, but you don't know how to achieve it. And that's partly because you ain't been achieving it yourself. I can't remember what movie. I just learned about this movie and I don't remember the name of it. And when I figure it out, I'm gonna post it. But it's a movie about a lady. I want to say it just came out. I think it's on Hulu or something like that. And she's like in her 60s or something like that. She goes to see a guy. She goes to, her husband passes away, and she's only ever had sex with him.
Mm-hmm.
She's never had an orgasm. She don't even know what it is.
Oh, man.
So then she goes to see this guy, and she's like, well, I've never had an orgasm. I don't know what that's like. I've heard people talk about it and what it seems like and whatever. And they're having a conversation. She's like, I doubt if you can do that. She's like, but I just want to see if it's possible, because now my husband's dead and I'm just, he's been gone for 2 years. I'm just trying to figure it out. Now, I haven't watched the movie. I just saw the clip of it, but I saved the clip because I'm like, this is so important because this happens. I've had this kind of, like I told y'all, I had this conversation with my grandma, and it was the same thing. She was like, well, we wasn't taught that sex was about pleasure. We was just taught that sex was something you do for your husband and you have children. And I'm like, yeah, but what you got a pleasure area for if you're not supposed to have you're not supposed to receive pleasure? Like, I don't understand that.
That's the only thing the clitoris does, period.
That's its main focus.
Yeah.
It's for you to have pure pleasure. And when I tell women that it's possible for you to have up to 8 or 9 different orgasms, they lose their brain because they ain't never even had one.
Right.
And it comes from the lack of knowledge, the lack of education, the lack of understanding. And the more we have those conversations and we are able to understand like what our bodies are capable of, like, I think it'll be less drama. I think it'll be a lot less drama in the world if a lot more people got out here and, explore themselves and play with that thing on a consistent basis in order for you to figure out, like, hey, I can do this myself,
Or I don't like this. I like this, and I don't like this. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you don't know what you don't like. So, like you were saying before, you're just you try to recreate the stuff that you've seen, and that ain't even you.
That's not even what you like.
It just look appealing. It look good.
And sometimes it don't even look appealing, but we still allow people to try that shit on us.
I've heard a joke like a lot of porn has got a lot of men beat up because he figured, well, I guess I should just come on her face, and it's like,
who told you that I want a bukkake?
Right.
I never said I want a bukkake.
And it doesn't mean that there's no one who enjoys that, but you saw it and you assumed, that that's how sex works.
That's how sex works.
Not necessarily,
First of all, sir, no.
If I don't say it, you don't do it, and that's how that goes.
Like that is not a mask. That is not a charcoal peel.
Okay, because no.
But
I like being able to see. I don't want to be like Issa Rae on.
Wow.
Because the guy.
Now you gonna explain that to the doctor?
The guy actually, like, she was giving him head, and the guy came in her eye. So, like, what do you do?
Oh yeah. I remember that.
See, Insecure.
I
it was on
Insecure. I didn't finish it, so I don't know if I saw that one out.
Yeah, it was like at the very beginning. It was like one of the very first.
No, I think so. Okay, yeah.
And like it happened, and so then she was sitting there with the cat eye the whole time. Like, bruh, why would you? It's those kind of things that men, and sometimes women do the dumb shit too, but it's more of a male thing where men have this hypersexual, I'm king ding-a-ling attitude when they come into the bedroom, and so therefore they do stuff like that because they've seen it, and not necessarily because they've actually had conversations with women when it comes to talking about sex.
Who does that, right? Is most people, like, if the assumption is men don't talk, right? That's my wife don't talk. I do all the talking. But if the assumption is men don't talk, you know what I mean? And then sex is I prove who I am with that. Why would I talk to you about it? Mm-hmm. Why would I ask you what you want? You know what I mean? I know what you want automatically because I'm a man, and that's just my job to please you. It's childish,
You know, something I always say is if 85% of women are not having an orgasm, that means 85% of men aren't doing it right. Right. So
right.
If it's 100 men in a room, 85 of y'all women are not satisfied.
Wow.
And that's a good way to put it, because then it makes you really look at the bigger picture and look at numbers. Like what they say all the time, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie.
And so if the numbers ain't lying, then that means somebody ain't doing something right. And you are not being willing to be educated about what your partner needs.
Right, because it's possible to do something right. Yeah, that's what makes it work.
Possible.
It's one thing if you couldn't do it, but no, you can, but you're unwilling to listen or read or look at or figure out or have a conversation. So that's you.
And you can have some of the best sex is well communicated sex. If you know what you're, what was that movie, Friends with Benefits? It's with Justin Timberlake, and I always don't know how to say her name.
The girl from that 70s show.
Yeah.
Okay, like Mila
Kunis. Mila Kunis. Yeah. So they was teaching each other like what they like, to the left, to the right, up, do this. This is what I like. They had a full-blown conversation, and they had great, amazing sex together because they were having conversations. They was having conversations as they were having sex. They was having conversations before sex. What I like, what I don't like. Do this, do that. What turns you on? What doesn't turn you on? And I'm like, I don't understand why people aren't having these conversations. And then on top of that, if they are having these conversations, why are you not listening?
Right.
Because somebody's not listening in that aspect. I've definitely been down that road where I'm like, okay, this is what I like. This is what I want. Can you do it like this? And then they just do whatever the hell they feel like they want to do. And I'm like, I didn't ask for none of this. Well, I did this. All the other women liked it. But
I was going to say, I think that's another part of the miscommunication between, and I hate to say it, between Black men and women. That's another area of miscommunication where it's always, I know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Because they say that women are that way in everyday life. We're too independent. Won't want to ever listen to a man. Won't ever want to, listen. But I think on the flip side of that is the man in the bedroom. Like the woman is too independent in the world, and the man is too independent in the bedroom. Because sir, you're not in here by yourself. You're not in here by yourself. If we in here together, bro, ain't no you do what you did to Lisa, Cheryl, and Sean.
Do what you did to
Right.
You can't do what you did to Lisa, Angela, Pamela, Renee, the Roundaway girls, and then you don't do that to me, and then we supposed to be in tune. No, my body.
When you said what you wanted, yeah.
Or we didn't have a conversation. We did not have a conversation, and that's the other part. Some people aren't having conversations prior to getting into the bedroom or prior to, they just go off chemistry and they just end up having sex.
Exactly.
And I mean, that's how you get mediocre sex. That's how you get, that person got their rocks off and you went on about your merry little way. And you might not have gotten yours off because, y'all didn't have a conversation. Y'all didn't really talk about it. But it's a lot to look at and a lot to understand about what we need to be able to learn from each other when it comes to sex. So I'm grateful that you're here to have this conversation with us, Michae.
Well, I got a question. So I know we were talking generally about sex, but just even thinking, back to just adult entertainment specifically, like I've been wondering, like I'm looking at, we've all seen things, and I'm like, does my skill set actually, do entertainers actually even want it? Because it seems like most people, like, especially if it's like, male stuff, most guys are just happy to see any boob, just a boob, right? So does it have to be a well-lit boob? Does it have to be a color-corrected boob? I don't know, so it's like, it's hard. Like there's a few people in the industry that I admire. There's this woman called Erica Lust, and her approach, to be honest, I don't even like to say she makes porn. She makes short films where the characters have sex. You know what I mean? It's well lit. She's using quality equipment. There's enough of a script so that it makes sense. It's not I'm delivering pizza and all of a sudden, we're having sex. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, it's actually more of a story that makes sense. And she's white, she does, try to, do like a lot of inclusive type things, but there's another group, and I haven't seen their work. I've seen some of this stuff on Instagram, but they're called Black Touch, BLK Touch. And of course, the great thing about them is they're telling stories about Black people,
Oh Lord, look at them in the comments.
They already in there. Look at them.
No.
Oh no, we gotta filter that out.
Oh
no,
boy.
I want the online.
It happens. Anytime we have a conversation that has something to do with like the industry or anything like that, it is always
How do they know? Something. How do they know?
I have no clue. They are literally probably on here searching.
So is it more or less like,
but do they want like quality? It's kind of like my question,
Is it kind of like the Zane books in a way where they do like like in a Zane story, it's just probably about 2 pages, maybe just 1 page long. And it's just like a script of just different type of fantasies happening in this book. So is that kind of like the premise of what she's doing? It's like acting out.
She does 2 different things. Yeah, she does, kind of like the typical, porn where there's some type of story, and then the people have sex. But she has this other series called X Confessions, where she asks people kind of what their fantasies are, and then she'll pick one of those fantasies and create, work based on that. So a lot of the stuff is, like someone was like I always wanted to, meet a performer and have sex on a piano. So then she'll create that scene, right? She'll create that scene because there are people that can connect with that, and she pulled it from the minds of actual people and not just kind of some random thing she threw out there,
Okay. And I think that's the thing too with the industry. Like it can be more creative. It can definitely be more creative. Like you said, everybody knows the premise of the storyline when they're delivering pizza, or it's the cable guy, or
the car broke down.
Yeah, or something like that. Like everybody knows the premise. Everybody knows how that's going to end.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to creating visual performances, like you said, like you just said about the young lady, she does videos where the people have sex. It's not even porn. I feel like if more people created things in that light, and it would be more entertaining. Because I feel
think when things are closer to being real, it
feels
feels better. You know, like I'm a nerd, you know, and like I watch a lot of the Marvel stuff and all that. And one thing I like, like for instance, in some of the X-Men stories, they'll start like they did one, or even in Transformers, I think there's, JFK is talking about going to the moon, and you'll see JFK speaking, and then you'll see the rocket go to the moon, and then it'll move over to the fantasy part, the movie part. You know what I mean? That anchors it in reality. So it's like if you find like real fantasies and then create those, there's a bunch of people that's like, I always want to do that. And to see that on screen is amazing, you know?
Yep. Ayla Scott said, yes, Zane helped with my sexuality.
And we actually know, Mama.
And we actually had Zane on the regular PGC show last year. And when we had that conversation with her, as far as like her books and things like that, like she literally said, like, these are things that she has done or things that she's wanted to do. And so therefore she wrote about them.
I like that.
And she's put these things out there because she knows that there are other people who have wanted to do these things. Or and Zane at one point even had a website where people would send in their short stories, and you can go read the short stories on her website. And I forgot what it's called. I think it was Planet Zane or something. I think that's what it was.
I think she still does it now.
Not the website. The website where you used to go to be able to go to read.
Oh no, she doesn't do that now. She does, somebody will send her she'll post it.
Oh yeah, she'll do that. But back in the day, because I was a Zane girl, like going to her website to go read those stories. And that's the days where you would literally go, and we were teenagers when Zane came out, so you got to go hide and read the stuff, you know. But that's when you go get your blanket and be like this in the corner trying to read what's in the book,
and they're going,
or what's on the website, because it was really good, it was entertaining, and it had a build up of what was going to take place. A lot of people think it's weird that people like that kind of stuff when it comes to the adult entertainment industry, and I think more people actually like it that way than to just see somebody and the first thing, like soon as you turn it on, they in it. Like, bruh, hold on. You didn't even give me no build up. You didn't even give me no storyline. Nothing led into this. I literally cut this on and y'all was already 10 toes down.
Or they do the interview. They do like the little interview thing, like, you ready for some cock? Yeah, I'm ready for some cock. And then they just go into it. It's like, what is happening here?
Listen, if I ever see that, I'm literally gonna turn that off. But like when Zane was here, she definitely told us like so many things. And she even told us about like how they do the setup when they do the love scenes and things like that on movies and TV and stuff. And she was saying like she encourages her actors and actresses to actually get into that space of if it was their real partner. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't, she don't like fake sex scenes, was pretty much what she's saying. Like, I don't like no fake shit. So you got to get into that zone and make it happen. And so and you got to go back and watch the episode. Now make sure I post the link. But when I tell you she's hilarious and how she talked about stuff going, Y'all got to check it out. I will make sure I post the link. But
yeah, post that.
Auntie Zane was literally chilling and telling us the tea. But
So she writes books and she produces content as well.
yes, so
Okay.
Zane has several movies. She had a couple TV shows.
Yeah, the
Sex
TV show, yeah.
Chronicles was one of her TV shows.
Mhm.
And that used to come on like Showtime or Cinemax or something back in the day.
Showtime. I think I want to say Showtime.
Yeah, so Sex Chronicles was a show, and then she has a movie called Addicted. So
Addicted.
Addicted
Yeah.
is one of her movies. All of her books, Chef's Kiss, because it has a storyline, and her books are about Black and brown people. So are her movies.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's another version of being able to see, a lot of things in that way too.
Bridgerton is interesting in that way. I don't know if you watched that.
What is it?
Bridgerton.
I have not.
Yeah, Bridgerton is interested in that way. It's interesting in how they have the build up to, and then they show the difference between like when they are like just basically having sex with somebody just to be having it, and when they really fall in love and the connection, and then showing also how the girl was a virgin and he was not, and he told her this is what you should do. And this wasn't even before they started, like, it wasn't even, it was more on a friendship mode. Like, you've never touched yourself, you've never explored yourself. And he told her what to do. So she started to explore herself and learn what that felt like. And she was like, oh my goodness. So then eventually they ended up consummating their marriage. They got married, and then he explored other things with her. So it really, and it does, it makes you a little hot because you like first
slow burn.
It's a slow burn. And I mean, dude fine.
Yeah, slow
That's
burn.
the first part. Him being fine is one thing, but then also it was just the way that they went.
Yeah, he annoys me.
Yeah.
But that's jealousy, hatred. Yeah.
But it was really, it was just, I liked the way that because Shonda Rhimes, that she produced that.
Bridgerton?
Yeah,
it's on Netflix.
She is the producer. It's under her platform. It's under the, what is it called? Shondaland.
Yeah.
What? I would not have known that.
Oh yeah, and it's good.
Yeah. That's dope. That's something that's dope to know. I had no clue that's what was going on.
It has like a, the way they speak, it's kind of like Shakespearean.
Shakespearean,
but it's cool though.
But you know what you would like about it, Auntie?
What?
Leo? You would like the production of the music. So when they have the balls and stuff like that,
oh yeah,
it's not like that old school, like it's not like Beethoven.
Okay,
it's modern day music.
I listen to Beethoven too.
Yeah, they take chamber, so it's orchestral, but it'll be current R&B or something.
But it's current R&B and things like that. But they make it orchestrated.
Okay,
so they put a twist of the Beethoven on with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's on Netflix. Y'all see it?
It's on Netflix. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start watching it next week at work.
Yeah.
All right. No, you said you
no, you do that. You watch it next week at work.
I'm gonna watch it at work. I started watching the Wednesday show.
I love it.
Don't get me started.
Yeah.
I need a Wednesday fighting game at this point.
Yeah.
Because all the characters, actually,
she was in there kicking ass.
She
was busting heads.
The biggest
I ain't
thing.
finished, so don't say nothing now.
I'm still in the beginning. I think I'm on like episode 3 or 4.
I watched that on Thanksgiving. Look,
wow.
I think I'm on episode like 3, maybe 4. So I've been kind of watching. I just started, I think yesterday, I think I started at the end of the day yesterday and watched a couple episodes today.
My kids are busting at me watching it. No, we supposed to. I say, you go ahead and watch it. I'm watching it. So I'm not waiting on nobody.
The one thing that I did love the most was that they have the original Wednesday from the movies.
Yes, in there.
As the dorm mom.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super dope. Because I kept looking at her, I was like, I think that's Wednesday right there. And then when they really zoomed in on her face, I was like, it is. And it made me happy because I was like, Yes, like that is the ultimate touch to it.
I kind of was hoping that she would be more Tisha, but I do like the role that she played.
Yeah. I like that role because I also think it's more fitting because in the movies, remember when Wednesday became like the smiley, like when she tried to smile in the movies and everybody was like, what is that? That's who the teacher reminds me of Wednesday when she was trying to come out of her shell and she was actually trying to be like more interactive with people. That's who the teacher reminds me of. So it's very fitting. But anywho,
I was gonna say something about something we spoke about when we were talking about visuals and things like that and just learning. So there's this guy that I follow on Instagram, and his name is 100 Days of Summer, I want to say. And he does actually do like tutorials and things showing men how to give women orgasms, showing men how to hit certain spots, G spot, A spot, and just all the spots, how to make them squirt. Like he has a whole tutorial. He has like breakdowns, visuals, everything. And then he has an OnlyFans where he shows, the actual
on an actual woman
happening. And within the act, there's like he gives a synopsis, and then in between he says, he gives like a description at the bottom of like what's happening, and then as he's doing whatever he's doing, he's asking like, how do you feel? What does this feel like for you? What am I giving to you? What is it? And you can hear the women in their responses, and then they have like a whole thing before and they have a whole thing after. And some of these women are having like full-blown 10, 12 orgasms within like a setting, and some of them are like emotional because they're like, I've never experienced anything like that before. And then you see like guys commenting and saying, thank you, man, so much, because I've been trying to figure out, my girl says she's not satisfied, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I think it's really dope, and I think there should be more platforms like that about it. But it kind of goes back to what you said. Men are typically, they feel like they know it all, and then also women aren't communicating that I'm not satisfied. They'll just sit there and take it and won't say, look, I don't like how this feels. This does not feel good to me. I want you to do this. It's kind of like this shame. And then men, I'm not, this I know to be for fact because it happened to me. And then the conversation that I have with other women, men will shame women for wanting to bring a toy or to add something else because of their ego. So then they'll make them feel like, oh, you must be a freak, or you just out here doing, who did you learn this from? You had sex? And it's like, no, like 9 times out of 10, if you're
learned it from Leroy. No.
Right.
Because I mean, yes, there was somebody before you. It was Leroy and Troy and that other boy.
It was somebody before you that taught me, but not even just that. Like, even if it's not that, it could be something like, I've had women come to my parties and been like, I want to introduce this to my guy, but I don't know how. Like, this sounds so good. This sounds like something I want to do. This something like I want to, try to incorporate in my bedroom. So you'll have more women buy like little subtle things that they can like do to enhance their libido, or things like that, or something that'll keep them, like, we have this stuff that you could put on your clitoris, right? It allows you to focus mainly on what's happening on your clitoris, as opposed to you thinking about everything else, because women, our minds would be everywhere else. We're not fully aroused, we over here. And then by the time they in the middle of what they doing, you're not even really focused on that. So they'll buy stuff like that before they'll get like a toy, but they want a toy. Before they get a couple's toy, but they want a couple's toy. But before they'll buy like restraints, but they want to be restrained. But they're nervous because they're like, if I introduce this, they gonna look at, when I said something to them before, I'm going to a toy party, just going to a toy party, find all the toy you need. And I'm like, oh my God.
And you're not.
See, but they don't have a sex problem. They have a communication problem, and she can't write, and she can't be honest with him, and he won't allow her to be honest, so that's outside of the scope of this conversation. Right, but that's the case though. That's the case.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, just like when you're talking about visuals and stuff like that, like that is something that really needs to be incorporated especially in the Black community, because we have it bad.
I would definitely say, like, when we had Uncle Dion on here, he is, and I mentioned him I think a couple of days ago, like, because he is literally my favorite when it comes to talking about all the different aspects of the toy industry, you know, from a man's point of view, because he is a man that sells toys.
Exactly.
So he's a man that sells the toys, and so he talks about the toy being the partner in the bedroom. Like, nah, this my homie. Like, we a team in this bedroom.
That's the sixth man. Come off the bench. Let's go.
Exactly.
And then he also he is very good about creating like TikToks and things like that show the different aspects of what a man thinks in regards to sex. One that I saw, I think he posted, I don't know if he posted it today, but it came on my timeline today, and it was saying, when your woman want to go rounds, but you already done. And he got his back turned and everything. And then he hands her the toy like, get somebody else to do it, you know? And so it's always fun to watch how he interprets like the popular sounds into something that has to do with his industry and doing with creating a safe space for men to know, like, nah, Playboy, this is, you know, this is how you get your woman to this place, or this is how you achieve this with your woman. It's not about your ego. Like, if you let down your ego and you really get into what she likes, or you'll end up being satisfied in the long run if you get into what she likes or get into all of these additional things. And so he is one of my favorite people to kind of pay attention to in regards to the message that's being given to the men about toys and sex and things like that, because he does it in a fun way. But if you pay attention, like, he's telling you, he's really giving you the game for a man. You're learning. And so make sure y'all check him out. What is his toy name? Because yours and his are so similar.
Yeah, mine is the Pleasure Principle. His is the Pleasure. Ooh, dang. Okay, I can't pull it up right now.
Yours is Pleasure Principle Zone, and his is
the something. It's her
pursuit of pleasure. Pursuit of pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was POP. I knew his was POP.
POP.
Yeah, his is Pursuit of Pleasure. If you go find him on TikTok, you'll be able to see his videos and things like that. But I think positive messages on both ends will create better environments for men and women to be able to have those conversations in regards to sex. I mean, just conversations in general, but also in regards to sex. If we create safer spaces for us to have those conversations, then a lot more of us would be able to do it.
Yeah. Because we just don't know how.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of us don't know how.
We don't. And you would think because they teach sexuality in schools now, because now they're teaching more of sexuality, like
transgender, lesbian.
You would think that they would tap into that avenue as well, and being able to, because if you're going to talk about sexuality, you might as well just talk about everything across the board. But they're not. It's still like one of those, like, we're not gonna talk about nothing. We'll tell you that if you're attracted to, but we're not gonna do that.
Yeah. And it's only so much they can teach at school. So I just think in general, when it comes down to what we're watching, what we're learning, what we're paying attention to, be open-minded. You know, my favorite thing to say, I always say, I'm gonna try anything once, twice to be sure.
Okay, a third time. Yes.
That's what I always say. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, you can try something the first time and it might not necessarily be what you thought it was gonna be, and you might be like, I don't know. you might still have that I don't know factor after the first time. But if you try it again the second time, you might actually really like it.
Right.
So
You might have been
I'll
doing
try.
it wrong.
Right. You
You might have did it wrong.
needed a little more lotion.
So you can try it the third time, but it'll just be with somebody else, just in case it was that person.
See, yeah. And you know, that's why I always say I'll try anything one time, twice to be sure. Outside of that, you know, I still got my parameters now on what we're gonna try. But I'll try it one time, 2 times to be sure.
You know, that reminds me of this show I literally just watched the other day. It was called How to Build a Sex Room.
Wow.
Girl, what you be watching? Where you be finding this stuff?
It's on Netflix. Everything on Netflix. Everything.
I'm like, wait, what?
It's on Look, Netflix got everything. And people don't even realize. I be finding like little hidden jewels.
I do not explore. Listen, I literally go watch the adult cartoons, Big Mouth.
Big Mouth is wow.
Big Mouth.
You know they got Human Resources now, which is like another version of Big Mouth.
I haven't watched it yet.
Human Resources is like all of the hormone monsters and stuff at work.
Is this on Netflix too?
Oh wow.
Yes, it's a spinoff of Big Mouth.
Okay, that's funny.
Okay, it's called Human Resources.
Big Mouth is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, I know I saw something with that on it, and I was like, "What is this?" But I was like,
Big Mouth.
Well, so people kind of lied about what the show was about, right? Like they put it out there, like, look what they're teaching our kids. They are not teaching our kids that. The show is about, like, you know, being a middle schooler and coming of age. So there's kids on the show, but it's not kids. You know what I mean?
It's not a kid's show.
Yeah, it's an adult show for kids, but I think we can all relate because we were all in middle school. Like, yeah, that's how that felt. You know.
So, and that's really what it is. It's a coming of age story, but it's for adults to watch, not for kids to watch.
Yeah. So the actors are all grown comedians and stuff like that. So yeah.
You know what blows
Maya Rudolph is on there. She plays my favorite. She plays Connie.
My dude is John Mulaney. I don't know, like I think he's hilarious. So
she plays my favorite hormone monster on there.
So now I guess I have to watch it.
Yes, go watch it.
I haven't watched it yet. But that's so weird that people will get upset, and I guess it's because it is a cartoon, so they're having an issue.
People automatically think it's for kids because there are kids in the movie.
It's social media. People are so stupid. You can put something and put writing on it, and people say, "Oh my gosh," they don't do any research or anything. So people are mad because they dumb.
I guess the only reason why I'm saying that is because like there's shows out there now that are not okay. They are not cartoons. They are full-blown shows, and they are showing girls coming from grade school, going into high school, and they're like full-blown kissing, making out, touchy-feely, and having sex or whatever, or the insinuation that they're having sex at these young ages.
So Euphoria was off the hook. I didn't watch that yet, but I heard about it.
Yeah.
I definitely watched like the first season. Yeah, that's off the hook.
Another show that I found really entertaining was Sex Education on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
it is about a boy, and his mom is actually a sex therapist. He learns so much about sex that he is like to an extent afraid, not necessarily afraid, but it makes him uncomfortable that his mom is so open about sex. But it kind of tells the story about him in high school and kids having sex, but they are misinformed. They are misinformed in high school, that they're teaching them the wrong shit in school. Their sex education teacher is like the gym teacher, but he's a nerd, or one of those, a nerdy dude where he's not even teaching them about sex correctly or sex education. So the guy kind of ends up doing these counseling sessions based off what he's learned from his mother in like secluded places, so people don't know that he's the one giving the counseling sessions and they're paying him for it. But also it's showing how he's going through his whole transitional phase about sex and learning it and implementing it in his life. It's good. It's funny. And then his best friend is gay, and so his best friend is learning about who he likes, what he likes, and those kind of things. It's a good series to me because it's funny, one, and then it kind of, and I think they're based out of England or somewhere, so they have an accent. So that's also what makes it funny too, because they're talking about, they're talking about all these different things with this accent, and then they're using like modern slang. And the slang and shit. So it's a really good series if you just want something to watch. I think it's like 2 seasons or something, but it was really worth watching, just to kind of get an understanding of like kids. I would say kids now, but it kind of doesn't seem like it's now. It's like,
because we went through that too.
It seems like it's more of a 2000s setting type of thing. You can't never really tell the time periods on some of these shows now. So, but it's definitely a good one to watch. Let's say it, but outside of that, it's definitely a good one to watch.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out.
Since we're talking about sex education and whatnot, that was a good show to watch.
Oh, and what I was saying about Sex Room.
The Sex Room, yeah.
How to build a sex room. So if you click on, I clicked on it because just the curiosity, because I'm like, I want a sex room one day. How do I build one? But what I found very interesting was back to what you said about the I'll try anything once, anything twice, or whatever. So she would sit down with these couples and have these conversations. So she was kind of like a sex therapist in a way. She sits down with them. She has a conversation. What do you like? What do you like? What do y'all like to do together? What is it that you won't try? Or what are you interested in? And then she'll take them to a place or show them a demonstration of something, bring out a bag of like toys and just like different things and say, what do you think about that? Touch that, feel that, how you feel about that. And then she'll create their rooms based off of all of this information that she gave them. When I say she made some cold rooms, I'm like, girl, these rooms were amazing. But outside of that part, it was the stuff in between and the dynamics of the different relationships that stood out to me, because that's just my brain and how it worked. It was even though these rooms were awesome, it was the dynamic of the relationships. You had the women who were super explorative, and the men didn't really know a lot, and they were just like, all right, this is what my woman want to do. I'm doing whatever she want to do. Then you had the men that was like, nah, we ain't doing that. I don't know what that is. Black man, we're not doing that. I don't know about none of that. Kind of reluctant. But his wife is the one who never had an orgasm. She doesn't even know. There you go. She doesn't even know what an orgasm is. And then so he I think I want to say he had that book you mentioned. I want to say he either had that book or it was a book it was like How to Find Her G-Spot. I think that was the name of the book. And so he had that book because he's like, I want to do this for my wife, but I don't know how. We don't have time and everything else. So she recreated their room, and the lady was like, she was tearing up. She like, you saved our marriage. They've been together 15 years, got 3 or 4 kids, and they just wasn't really getting intimate. She didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. So they just lay in the bed, and she'll watch shows and he'll play a video game, and that'll be that. And then you also had the same sex ones. Then you had the polyamorous. It was 7 of them.
They need a bigger room.
They need a house. Shit.
They had the whole basement. They had the whole
basement. Sexual interior designer.
They had the whole, and it was so dope because it was crazy seeing the difference in the dynamics, especially in the races. You can see like where the more what do I want to say? The more liberated men and women, and predominantly the men, were white. The more restrained,
because they got less shit to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. The more
they got less shit to worry about, so they can play around.
They can play around, right? The less restrained and more reserved were the black people, well, at least especially the black men, and the black women were like, I want to do, like, they're kind of like lacking in a way, and they're saying it like, I need something. I need
that's the conversation that we need to have then. Like, we need to have both sides on here and literally have that conversation. Like, what keeps us from being liberated in that way? Because if a woman says she's sexually liberated, she's a hoe. And that's literally the label that goes right along with being sexually liberated or sexually free. She's a hoe. But people forget that you can be liberated, but not actually practicing or doing.
Well, it happens in your brain first. Did y'all see Principles of Pleasure? That's on Netflix
Yes,
too.
I watched that.
Yeah, I like that.
So okay, I gotta get my little list together.
I think that
Principles
I
of
think
Pleasure
you'll
was
like.
really good.
Yeah.
Principles of Pleasure,
And again,
How to Build a Sex Room,
mm-hmm.
and Bridgerton.
And Bridgerton.
Okay.
The Principles of Pleasure, was that the one with
it was like a documentary, and it was a black woman that was narrating it.
Yeah. Okay, that's not the one I'm thinking about. The one I'm thinking about is the one, the Goop one. The one with Gwyneth Paltrow. So
oh no.
Yeah. Okay, so I watched that one, and they were like the different couples were demonstrating different ways of tapping into their sexuality, and then like really like some of the bigger women were really like focusing on looking at themselves and loving their bodies and stuff like that. And so this allowed them to have some type of liberation. My favorite couple on that was the black couple, because they really had a disconnect sexually. Like, it was bad. And then they started to tap into certain things, and he ended up getting emotional. He ended up crying because it was like, he was saying something about the experience and the emotions and the stuff. He's like, I've never seen her feel that way. It was good. That was a good one too. So okay. It's something
to watch.
It's Goop something. I don't even remember the name of it. I just know it was Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow. All you gotta do is put it in, you'll find it.
I'm about to say, put it in sex documentaries or something. It'll probably come up.
Maybe. Yeah. And then the Principles of Pleasure that was really good too. I like that. That did an explorative thing of like almost every aspect and everything.
Yeah, so when we get ready to have the conversation on the dynamics of sex between the black man and the black woman individually and collectively, we're gonna have to have you back on here, Michae.
Yeah, and like I think like these shows, like a lot of times when you watch them, people be like, "Oh, you just freaky." No, it's important to like watch this stuff and like understand in your head what you're doing or how you feel about it. Like there's you know the line from The Matrix, do you know what the Matrix is? I think most people don't know what sex is.
No,
what it can do, the effect it can have on you. They just know they want it, but they don't actually know what it does. You know, the power that's in it. Most people just have no idea.
Yeah.
And that was the whole like premise behind like the After Dark show, not just to talk about sex, but it was a way for us to actually have a platform to be able to talk about those things that we can't talk about in regular conversations or have in regular circles or in regular spaces. But also, it's like we literally created this show based on a ladies' night episode on the regular show. We had ladies' night, and that show went on for 4 hours.
Wow.
Which is normally a 2-hour show, and it ended up being a 4-hour show, and we loved it so much and wanted to talk about so many different things. Because the women that were on that particular show, the aunties, we have a wide span of experience. Some of us have been married. Some of us have divorced. Some of us are single and never been married. Some of us are single and been in long-term relationships. And our age range is from early 30s to 50. So and then, some of us are dating. Some of us aren't dating. Or we're trying to figure out the whole dating scene. And some of them are married. So it's a lot there to discuss and to talk about. But mainly we wanted to talk about those things that you would sit down and talk to your good auntie, the one who's not going to judge you, and have that conversation and be real with you. And so that's how we came up with PGC After Dark. But it's also to educate in those things, to talk about sexuality, sensuality, to talk about intimacy, and to be to give education in areas that we don't get education, and think that at whatever age we're at that we don't need it. No, we always need to be educated, especially when it comes to sex in our bodies, because that's something that we're actually actively doing regularly, and some of us still do not know what we're doing with our bodies. So here we are. So that's definitely a conversation we're gonna have, and it's going to be necessary to have it because there are so many of us who are having sex regularly, and some of y'all ain't going to the doctor regularly. Some of y'all don't know, what to use it for. You know what I'm saying? Some of us got it and don't know how to use it. Some of us got it and don't know how to actually get pleasure out of it. And so that's what we here to have those kind of conversations. And I know it's funny sometimes, like my brothers and my sisters seeing me talk about stuff in this way, but it's definitely a conversation that I feel like we all need to have, because it wasn't a conversation that was regularly going on in my household either. So I'm still learning a lot, and I'm damn near 40. So
yeah, it's
a lot to learn. It's a lot of conversation to have. Exactly. And I'm glad you came and had the conversation with us about the different aspects of the industry. Although we didn't like stay in that lane.
We veered.
Yeah, it was okay. Like, because all of the conversation was necessary in order for us to have an understanding of, like, even outside of the industry, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of conversation to be had. And then once we get back to the learning part, then when we look at what's going on in the industry, we can have a better understanding.
Well, I feel like the industry could have an effect on what we learn and our ability to learn.
Yep.
And maybe that's not necessarily a lot of people's goals, but I think there could be a space like, hey, yeah, sex is going on here, but it's sex that you could learn something from.
Yep. And that's what we need. We need both. We need sex to learn something from, and then we need sex for entertainment and pleasure. But the learning part is what a lot of us need, and we ain't learning that from regular porn. So stop lying to y'all saying that's what you're doing.
Definitely not learning.
I'm watching porn to learn.
I saw this on the porn. I wanted to do this. No, sir, you're not gonna do that.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that aspect. It's nothing wrong with watching it to want to learn how to do something, or to like want to experiment.
An idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to trigger some creativity in the bedroom. But don't go in that bedroom trying to do the exact same thing, because you might get punched in your forehead. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and some of that stuff is not for pleasure.
Somebody might end up injured.
Okay? Yeah, some of that stuff
it's for pure entertainment.
It's cinematography.
Yeah, use some discernment now and have a conversation before you end up in the ER. That's all.
Right. Because you be like, well, why is she turned that way? She's turned that way so the camera can see her better. That has nothing to do. So it's not gonna feel good for you because it ain't no camera in your room. Maybe not. I don't know.
Or you know what I'm saying, and you don't want to end up on another show. Sex sent me to the ER. Okay,
right.
We don't want y'all on there. So we really here to try to just give some different aspects of education. And, this is from Michae's perspective on what he feels as a photographer, as someone who, does different things or has an area of expertise in that industry, and what that industry can bring to us as a whole, or how we can change it and make it a better experience for us all around, especially if, that's what some of our kids is learning, how to get down and dirty. Okay. But we ain't gone just yet. We gonna tap into this good night kiss from the one and only the mouth_moments. And then we're gonna get information on how you all can stay connected to Michae. And then we'll be out of here. Hey, we gonna be here long. But this conversation was good, so we didn't have to keep going. You know what I'm saying? It was real good and to the point. And like I said, we'll bring Michae back when we get ready to have the in-depth conversation. And we're gonna need some other men on here now. And you gotta be educated, and you gotta be willing to talk and listen. You just gotta come
willing to learn too.
Spitting your poison. Okay? And sometimes people be coming on here like, women don't need orgasms. What?
Somebody said that for real?
I've heard it before.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was kind of a sad tale of a sad event, but apparently he's not having much sex these days. So
can't be.
We gonna get into this goodnight kiss from the mouth, and then we'll be right back. Okay? All right.
Hey, it's time for your goodnight kiss with your man in the mouth on the After Dark edition of the Fat Girl Chronicles podcast. Sit back, relax, and let's get ready to get into this one by Tank from R&B Money, and he calls this one When We Dance on your Goodnight Kiss.
Something keeps us from breaking. Oh, you get the music at the right time. You let your hair down. You put them tights on that I like. That's when what's lost is now found. You start to move on the floor. Oh, you know that that's that shit. What we fighting for, I so forget. Oh, when you dance, said ain't none fucking with you. It's the medicine that gets us through anything. When you dance, I would give you all I got. It reminds me I cannot let you leave.
Yes, indeed, that was Tank, When We Dance from R&B Money. But now I want to kiss you one more time since we're getting into the dance mood tonight with a song called Lap Dance. And it's from Cam and Eric Bellinger right here on your late night goodnight kiss with your man in the mouth.
Yeah, she needs a lap dance song. I can't get enough out of VIP. Money in the sky when she grinding on me. Yeah, she needs a lap dance song. Yeah, yeah, every time I put it on, she goes. I need her to sit down. I need her to slow grind on me. I got hit with a dizzy spell. Throw that booty back, I'm trying to see it well. Vicky's secret songs, she don't kiss and tell.
Yes, indeed, yes, indeed. This has been your Goodnight Kiss with your man in the mouth right here with your rich aunties on the Fat Girl Chronicles podcast after dark. Don't forget to follow me on all social media at the mouth_moments and check me out each and every Tuesday night on the Fat Girl Chronicles podcast.
Listen,
Okay,
the mouth
true
gonna
that.
give you some. Now, y'all can't say we don't be giving y'all something to go on with, okay?
Let me tell you,
on
I always
Tuesday-
end up adding me a song or two to the playlist. So
Listen, on Tuesday, we give you the new music moments, and he always gonna bring you something good on Tuesday. And every other Friday, he gonna bring you something even better. So go on that playlist for you and your loved one on a good night's kiss, okay? So make sure y'all add them to your playlist. And if you're not following him on Apple Music, go do so. And you can find the new music moments on our YouTube channel. All you got to do is go to YouTube, type in the Fat Girl Chronicles. You will find the different playlists from the different seasons on our YouTube channel. And all you got to do is go look and get your playlist rolling. But again, like I said, if you don't want to build the playlist, he's already done that for you. Go find him under the mouth_moments on Apple Music, and you'll be able to get all his playlist. Okay, and they are bangers. So Michae, get the people the information on how they can get with you, how they can connect with you, and how they can book you, because we want to get you some bookings.
Absolutely. So, of course, my website, asharpphoto.biz. You can see a lot of my work there. That's important. You want to work with somebody, you need to make sure you look at their stuff,
Right.
see if they bought something. And you can follow me on all social media platforms at asharpphoto. I shoot in person, but another thing I do that a lot of people don't know about is I shoot virtually. So even if you're like, well, I ain't in Florida, that's okay. Give me a call, reach out to me. You can hit me in the DMs, on social media. You can go through my website and contact me, and I can actually do work virtually.
Now, that's the dopest shit I've ever heard.
that's awesome.
Because I've never heard of somebody doing a virtual photo shoot. And, I've never heard of that at all. So that's super dope and amazing. So I hope to either participate in the virtual photo shoot, or we going to get together and do a real photo shoot somewhere in Florida.
Indeed.
Under some palm trees or something,
Come on, listen, wherever you at in January, this is where you want to be.
Listen, you're not lying, because I'm in Indiana. I'm in the Midwest. Okay.
Yeah, January, February, you want to be here. Yeah.
I'm finna take flight. So I'm gonna make sure I get myself somewhere near Florida and when it gets too cold here, so I can put on some less clothing, so I can take some pictures and some bathing suits or something.
Let's do it. I got you.
But make sure y'all check Michae out. Michae also does voiceover acting, and he does a lot of things. So make sure y'all check him out. Reach out to him, asharpphoto.biz. And make sure y'all follow him on all social media platforms. Connect with him. See what he got coming up that you can be a part of, or whatever, you got coming up that he can be a part of. Make sure y'all reach out. This is definitely a way to connect with some dope Black business owners. We always try to make sure we push that in every way possible. So make sure y'all check him out. And then y'all know we are always here each and every Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m. on Tuesday with the Fat Girl Chronicles, and then every other Friday with Fat Girl Chronicles After Dark with the crazy rich aunties. Make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and we are on all podcast streaming platforms. That's iHeart, Amazon Music, Audible, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can listen to a podcast, we are there. So make sure you check us out when you can. We appreciate y'all for rocking with us on tonight, getting in on this good conversation. And if you want to know more about the Fat Girl Chronicles After Dark, or you want to suggest a topic or anything like that to us, go to our website, send us an email, thefatgirlchronicles@gmail.com. Our website will be up by the beginning of the year so that you can go to the website to suggest topics, guests, and all that other kind of stuff. So stick around for the come up. I promise you it is on its way. And then in January, we got some dope shows coming. So make sure you are marking your calendars and preparing for that, because we got an amazing dope show coming out in January called High Maintenance from the ladies over there at New Vibe CBD Dispensary here in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's a show you don't want to miss. It's educational and entertainment. So we up out of this thing. I promised y'all we wasn't going to be before you long. We appreciate y'all. And y'all know what I say. Whatever you do for the rest of the evening and the rest of the week, don't do it with your half ass. Do it with your whole ass. All right, y'all? We out this thing. Peace. 2 fingers.
Trust. Independence. Love. Respect. Passion. Pain. Intimacy. Pleasure. I sit here stuck inside my head, remembering you and I analyze all those